Meet Glen Jacobs. You might know him better as this guy, the WWE superstar wrestler known as Kane.
I left the ring to take on a new fight, serving Knox County as mayor. We kept our businesses open and added 2,500 new jobs, created 3 new schools without raising taxes, and started a new vocational academy for those pursuing a career in the skilled trades.
Glen Jacobs for Knox County Mayor, conservative fighter, small business owner, delivering for Knox County.
Please welcome to the stage Chairman of Citizens of America, Dr. Chris Hughes, and Hall of Fame wrestler and Mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, Glen Jacobs.
Hello, North Carolina. Woo! It's good to see you today. Have a seat, Mayor. Well, I tell you what, we're excited to be here with you today, and Mayor, welcome to North Carolina.
Thank you very much. You know, University of Tennessee is taking on Florida today in football, so I got my stuff on. But nevertheless, it's great to be here in Charlotte. Thank you.
Yeah, we need to be praying for your team since you're here with us.
Yes. And me too.
Yeah. Hey, so this is a big honor for me. I was a big wrestling fan as a kid, and I was shocked and thrilled when Jason and Jim got with me and said, hey, will you interview Kane? Now, I didn't know if they were playing a joke because, you find the shortest guy in the speaker lineup that they've got here to talk to the biggest guy. And so I'm just going to share this and then we'll get to the interview. So when I was a kid, I dreamed of being a wrestler, like I guess you probably did too since you grew up to be one. But y'all, I knew that I had no shot at being a wrestler because I'm a midget. So this is on TV, so I'm going to be in trouble for this. But this is the truth. I dreamed of being a giant masked wrestler in the midget wrestling league. So it's just an honor. I think we could form a tag team. Y'all, he is the 3-time world heavyweight champion, 12-time tag team champion. So maybe we can get Kane and the masked midget together for one last match.
Hey, it'd be like the long and short of it or something like that, right? Maybe a tag team.
Well, we're so excited that you're here with us today. You've had a lot of fame in the wrestling world. You're a movie star as well, and you've had a successful business. What in the world motivated you to change when you retired from wrestling? And you thought you were probably in the arena then, and then you jumped into politics. Why did you do that?
Sure. I grew up in Northeast Missouri, very rural part of the country. I was actually born in Madrid, Spain. My dad was in the Air Force. I was born on Torrejon Air Base, but he moved back to family moved back to the States shortly thereafter. We didn't have a whole lot when I was a kid. Again, Dad is retired military. Because of his retirement, we always had something to eat, place to live, and the necessities. But if the car broke down, something like that, things would get pretty tight. And for me, I didn't want to feel like I was living paycheck to paycheck when I grew up. Mom and Dad worked really hard, but that's just the way things were. So I was looking for a way that I can improve my financial situation in the world. I thought that'd be through professional sports. Fell into professional wrestling. I had a knee injury that ended my football career. And I've had a fantastic life, been incredibly blessed with that career. And I look back at my life and I'm like, how is that possible? Someone like me could grow up in rural Missouri with nothing really and be able to do some wonderful things and experience a great life. And how's the people that come from much more humble beginnings than I had are able to do even greater things? And the reason is we live in a country where we have the freedom to take your skills and your gifts and your God-given talents and use those in the pursuit of happiness. It's called the American dream. And that exists pretty much no other place around the world. I think it's really important that we protect that. And I just want to make sure that my kids and my grandkids have the ability to live the life that someone like me has been able to by using their talents and achieving their dreams in whatever way they want to.
Well, I thank you for that, because that's a model to all of us. We're all called, particularly as Christians, to engage in the culture and engage for Jesus and be involved. And that's why you're here at the Salt and Light Conference. So I thank you for that. And thank you to your family also for being in the Air Force. It's not just your dad that served, but your family as well. So thank you for that.
Yes, thanks.
So folks, yes.
Thank you.
So what you may not know is the mayor recently got reelected just a few weeks ago. So, yeah, praise the Lord for that. So Mayor, you've experienced a lot of different things because you've been in term, I guess it was 4 years. What are some of the challenges you faced as mayor?
I don't know. We just had this pandemic thing. That was kind of a big deal. But that was actually what shifted everything, because before that, you think about the things you deal with the local government. It's roads, schools, those sort of things. Now all of a sudden, you're talking about shutting businesses down and doing things which are completely unconstitutional, completely un-American, and it just actually blew my mind that our country had moved to the point to where we would surrender our liberties and our freedoms given by God, protected for generations by people who are willing to die so that we would still have those. And then one day we would just say, oh, I'm scared. And I'm not saying the pandemic wasn't serious and wasn't a real thing, but nevertheless, the threat to our way of life, the threat to America, that was the existential threat, not the virus. And for me, that was, I was one of those people who pretty much early on was saying, wait a second, there's something messed up here. And we're not going to do, to the extent that I couldn't control a whole lot, but we're not going to do a lot of these things. I was very outspoken about that. I got criticized very harshly. Now, of course, everybody's looking back going, oh, we were all like that. Well, no, you weren't. You got Joe Biden saying, we were the ones that opened schools up. No, you weren't. So that was by far the biggest challenge, of course, that any of us have faced.
Well, and I know that you're a big proponent for freedom and liberty, and in line with what you just said, folks, you may not realize this because they don't want to cover what conservative Republicans do, but you really took a stand. If you remember when the president was trying to mandate vaccines and other things, the mayor sent a letter to the president. Got you in a little bit of trouble, didn't it? Tell us about that.
Yeah, he probably didn't read it. I wrote him a letter when he came out with the vax mandate, saying that, first of all, an executive order does not carry the force of law. Okay, it is not. If you actually look at the Constitution, it says that all legislative power resides with the Congress, not the president. So he was stepping on the Constitution that way. Also, since the Constitution did not mention this in it, it means the federal government had no authority. So if that was going to happen, it needed to happen at the state level, because the 10th Amendment said the powers not granted to the federal government are reserved to the state and to the people. So constitutionally it was wrong. It was wrong because, for Knox County, people that we weren't going to do it because people that didn't want to get a vaccine, well, they're going to go work someplace else. So it was going to impact our ability as an entity to recruit and to keep people, as well as it was just, I wasn't going to do that to our folks. And just I think the thing that bothered me the most was in his speech where he talked about the vaccine mandate, or one of the times that he talked about it. He said that it was not about freedom or personal choice. I was like, dude, this is America. It's always about freedom and personal choice. And if you don't understand that, you shouldn't be president.
Well, speaking of freedom and personal choice, you've been very outspoken also on the issues of Marxism and socialism coming into our country, into our schools, and into our government. And as you've said, a big problem with that is they're teaching kids in school that there's no truth anymore. There's no absolute truth. And we as Christians know that's a lie, don't we? Yeah. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. There is a truth out there. So, what are we supposed to do, Mayor, in this society where there is no truth? How can we take a stand for truth?
So right after Roe v. Wade was overturned, even in very conservative Knox County, we had pro-abortion protests. And I'd like to point out, too, that whole debate has changed now, okay? And it used to be pro-choice, okay, which don't agree with, but still, it's not pro-choice now. It is pro-abortion, okay? And it means they're literally talking about, killing kids is a really good thing, okay? So there were protests in Knox County, and someone sent me a picture of a young lady holding a sign, and that sign said, if God can kill his only son, why shouldn't you be allowed to kill yours? Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, not only do you have, of course, that's morally reprehensible position to take, but you're also now saying that man is the equivalent of God. Okay, and that's really what Marxism and the culture of Marxism is you're replacing God with man, and you're replacing the church with government. And that's what she was saying in this sign. So, for me, the most important thing is that we keep our grounding as a society. Government and society are not the same things. And we think that they are, but they're not. They're separate things. And you can disagree with your government, and I do a lot, especially the federal government, while still loving your country and still loving your fellow Americans and your fellow country people. So I think that's the most important thing is institutions like the church, the family, they're vitally important. Those are the basic foundational blocks of a society and a community. It's not the government. And I think that we all need to remember that.
Yeah. Amen. Well, Mayor, there are a lot of crazy things going on in society today. Now, I'm not sure what all's happening.
Yeah, I thought wrestling was crazy, but...
but the sexualization of our children on a national level is really shocking right now. A lot of crazy things. Folks, you may not realize this. There's a school here in North Carolina where there are some children so they're telling your kids in kindergarten, you need to identify whether you're a man or a woman or something else. And there are students in North Carolina schools that are identifying as animals and cats. And there's literally a school in North Carolina that has put litter boxes in the bathrooms so the cat can use the litter box. So crazy stuff is going on. But Mayor, it affects they're attacking really our religious freedom, which has always been guaranteed to us from the Constitution. And you have a situation that just happened, I think, this past week. Vanderbilt, which is a premier university and medical system in the United States. It's based in Tennessee. And a lot of this is happening from President Biden mandating in the military and other places across the country, mandating that medical workers have to participate in sexual change operations. So, Mayor, I know you took a big stand recently. Tell us a little bit about what happened with Vanderbilt.
Yeah, sure. It's the Vanderbilt Medical Center, which I don't think is actually formally, connected to the university there. In fact, the university is kind of distancing themselves from this whole thing. But nevertheless, I think about a year ago, the Daily Wire, which is a big media company, Ben Shapiro and his folks, they moved to Nashville. And that's turned out to be, I think, a really important thing for us because now we have an influence, a media company and influence makers in a more conservative area. Well, Matt Walsh, who is one of their people, did some research at Vanderbilt, and what he found was horrific. Yes, they have this Vanderbilt University Medical Center pediatric transgender clinic, and they will do surgeries on children as young as 13 years old. Okay, and then you see some of the stuff too that Matt has on his Twitter feed, and it's unbelievable. But as you said, one of the huge issues was that they had one of their administrators speaking in front of, I don't know where it was, but anyway, they have this video where she's speaking in public, and she basically says, if you're a conscientious objector to this, that's problematic. Okay, and then of course they came out with a statement a few days ago that says, "Oh, we respect everybody's right to, if they find a care to be morally reprehensible, to not participate." Well, you're intimidating everybody by having one of the administrators saying there will be consequences if you choose not to participate. So yes, you have that, but it's just, it's also the fact is these are little kids, man. They're teenagers, sometimes preteens, and they're going through a surgery which will affect them for the rest of their lives, okay? And then if you look at the statistics, something like 95% of the young men who believe that they are women and 80% of the girls, by the time that they're past the teenage years, those issues have resolved themselves, okay? So when I was 13 years old, I didn't know what I was or who I wanted to be or anything like that. Could you imagine now that we're literally sentencing these kids that you're gonna spend the rest of your life scarred, not functioning correctly in any way, okay? Because the surgery, all it is, it's essentially plastic surgery, right? Go through the hormone replacement stuff, but still, you don't function as whatever your opposite is, right? And then it drives me nuts because we've been told for how long, follow the science, follow the science, follow the science, except for chromosomes, because chromosomes are actually what determines what your gender is. So, to me, I mean, if you're an adult, I get it, I don't agree, do whatever. But I do believe that we have a responsibility to protect kids from this stupidity and this foolishness.
Well, Mayor, it is crazy. So just real quickly as we wrap it up, can you give us a challenge? What do we as Christians need to do to impact the culture for Jesus?
Be an example. Be an example. I mean, you know, when you think about Christians and the Christian lifestyle, be that. And, you know, when folks look at you, realize there's a difference between folks who are Christians and who follow in the footsteps of Jesus Christ and other people. So, you know, just be that example and be a force for good. I mean, for instance, again, going back to when Roe v. Wade was overturned, you know, we had people on the left were going, oh gosh, you know, now you're just gonna have a bunch of kids in the foster care system and no one cares. Well, meanwhile, we have a charity in Knoxville that immediately stepped up and, you know, really started pushing adoption and adoption services and support, especially for pregnant women who might have an unplanned pregnancy. You know, we need to do those sort of things. Unfortunately, what's happened in our society is too often government takes things over because we don't step up and do it. So I think that we all need, as Christians, we have a calling to step up and fill some of the gaps that government has taken over.
Well, he was a fierce warrior in the wrestling ring, but I'm glad he's on our side now. As he's stepping on the national stage to fight evil in our nation and take a stand for Jesus Christ. Ladies and gentlemen, be praying, Mayor Glen Jacobs.
Thank you all.